what's up YouTube? Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to replace your front struts on a 2014 Mazda 3. Now the first thing we need to do is disconnect the sway bar end link right here. Now this might be stuck on there pretty good. It does have a little Allen opening here in the end, so you might need to use a little Allen wrench or an Allen socket in there. It's a 5mm and the nut is a 14mm, but sometimes you'll get lucky and you can zip those off with an impact. Let's give it a try here. Well, we got lucky. Now, if you don't have an impact or if you don't get lucky with that coming off so easily, when the nut is on there, what you'll need to do is use a ratcheting wrench or a box end wrench or something like this to loosen it while you use the 5mm Allen to hold that in place. So it'll look something like this. You'll basically have that on there, and then you'll have the 5mm spinning or holding it while you're turning this one counterclockwise to loosen that and remove it. In our case, we didn't need to use that method because we have the impact and it worked out great. So we'll just set that nut aside. There's a little pressure on the sway bar here, but I'm just going to use that same Allen wrench to push that all the way through. So here's our sway bar end link, and that's free now. Now we need to disconnect the ABS sensor wires that are mounted here on the back and over here on the side. And there's just little plastic tabs there. You're basically just squeezing them in. I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver and push in on that little plastic piece, and then just kind of hold some pressure on it to the side as I push in the other side in the back, and that'll just wiggle right out like that. Now it's the same type of connector here in the back. We can just push in on these little plastic tabs and kind of rotate that towards the other one while we push that one in, and it should just pop right out like that. Now, in order to disconnect the brake line here or pull it out of its mount, there's a little metal sliding clip. It's under tension and that's what holds it in place, but all we need to do is just wedge a small little flathead screwdriver in here and pry that out. Like that. And then pull the brake line towards you and it will slide out the side. And now this is completely clear of all the brake lines and ABS wires. All right, now we can loosen and remove these two strut mount bolts. You'll need a 19mm socket for the nut on this side and a 17mm socket or wrench to hold this one steady. That's just the head of the bolt while we loosen and remove that. Now these are not cam bolts for alignment, so you don't need to mark them or anything like that. I'm just going to hold this steady with a 17mm wrench and see if we can break this loose with the impact. This is a 19mm deep socket. I'm going to use a little wobble on the impact because it was a little tight here on the caliper. Just want to make sure that we're completely on that nut so we don't strip that out. There we go. Now sometimes these bolts will come right out and other times you'll need to tap on them. It's not recommended to hit that with a hammer because you can damage the end of the bolt. I'm going to use a little brass punch set here that I got from Mayhew Tools, and we'll just see if we can tap these out. The top one came right out. There we go. A little bit of rust on that bolt is what was probably holding that in place, but we'll get that cleaned up and put some anti-seize on there before we put it back together. Now I just put another jack stand underneath so that the lower control arm doesn't droop down too far and pull out the axle or put any stress on the brake lines. But you can see that our strut is now completely free from the knuckle. All right, now we can go up top and loosen and remove the three nuts that hold the strut in place. All right, so you can see we have easy access to these three 14mm nuts. We can go ahead and loosen and remove them. But before I take off the last one, I'm going to have one hand underneath holding onto the strut or supporting it so that it doesn't drop and damage anything on its way down. Just needed a little wobble extension for this last one. But now I'm gonna put this hand down underneath and hold on to that strut so that it doesn't drop to the ground when I loosen this. All right, then we can take out the old one. Now the top of the strut does have a bearing, so if you need to turn that a little bit to line it up, you can do that comparing it to the old one before you put it in, or once you get it up and in place, you can rotate the whole shock on this bearing before you connect it below. Now I'm going to put this in the same way the other one came out. And then I've got the new nuts here, so I can just feed this up from below and get it started. Just got all of these started by hand to hold it in place. Now I'm just going to zip these barely snug for right now. Well, I wish they didn't change the size of these, but these are now a 15 millimeter on the new ones. Just make those snug. All right, now as I mentioned, I'm going to clean up these bolts. Again, this one here had a lot more surface rust on it than the other. I'm just going to use a small little wire wheel on a drill to clean off this rust, and then I'll just put a really light coating of anti-seize on there. Hopefully that will keep that from rusting again. If you're going to use a wire wheel, just make sure you use some safety glasses or something like that. Again, I'm just going to put a really thin coat of this anti-seize on the part of the bolt that was kind of showing some rusting. All right, and those look good as new. Just a really thin coat of anti-seize. These are ready to go back in. Now let's see if we can line this up without too much trouble. Now you could use a jack, but I'm just pulling up on this. And let's see if we can get the bottom one too. Let's see what happens if we give it a little tappy. Just a little tap with a rubber mallet, and our bolts are in. And we'll thread these nuts on by hand first. All right, I'm just going to snug these with the impact. Now, sometimes you need to wait till a car is sitting on the tire to torque suspension components. In this case, this is just fixed to the knuckle. There's no bushings in here. So we can go ahead and torque this now to 170 foot-pounds. We can also torque these nuts at the top. These are, again, the 15 millimeter now with the replacement. They were 14 millimeter, but we can torque these to 40 foot-pounds. All right, then we can put the brake line into the mount of the new shock. Just pull it through here first and then push it back through this opening. Oh, sure be nice if it fit. This will not fit in there. So I might have to, I think I'm gonna have to drill out this brand new strut to make room for that brake line mount. This part of the brake line will not slide into the mount of this aftermarket shock. This is by TRQ, by the way, but I'm gonna have to file this out a little bit. That might be enough. Let's see if that'll work. Nope, close, but it's not quite working. That's all right. Let's just file it out. Pull this out of the way. Ooh, almost. Okay, I think we got it now. Let's see if we can get this clip in now. Nope. So there's also some metal tabs on here, which the original part did not have. And it also seems like those are preventing this from going all the way in enough so that we can put this little fastener back on. Can't push it in far enough to make that fastener work the way it's supposed to. You see these little metal tabs on this side? They are preventing the brake line from going in and sitting flush so that I can put the clip on. Here's the one that we just took off. There are no tabs on either side of that opening or that hole. So we're just gonna have to grind it off It's the only thing I can think of to make this work and get this vehicle back on the road. So let's do that. Just remember to wear some safety glasses here. If I would have realized this before putting it on, you know, like I'll do this ahead of time on the other one so I don't have to do this on the vehicle. Well, we almost got it. This is a kind of a tight situation here. Show you what we did. We ground off those tabs. I'm gonna hit that with some black paint. You know, I'm not mad at anybody here. Not a big deal. Stuff happens, but you guys at TRQ, you kind of owe me on this one because I pretty much saved you a return. Okay, back to work here. So what we were doing was putting our brake line back in. Let's see if it fits now. Hey, look at that. It goes in all the way, and our clip is gonna work. Good as new. Probably could have painted that better, but that's all right. It's back together, and it's gonna do the job, so that's the most important thing. Sometimes you just gotta get these cars back on the road. Now we can clip in the ABS in the tab here in the back. Luckily that one fit just fine. And then this one here on the side, little hole right here on the side of the new strut. Just push that through, and it clips in place. And then last but not least, the sway bar end link here. Just line that up, pull it through, and get that nut started. See if we can spin this on without spinning that shaft here. Perfect. All right, and then the torque spec on this sway bar end link is about 35 foot-pounds, I believe. And you're done. Pretty quick and easy job, other than the little tab here with the little metal pieces that didn't quite line up. Little file, a little bit of a grinder, and some paint, and we're good to go. It's not really that big of a deal. This brake line is in here and it's mounted solidly, so I'm really not too worried about it. Really wasn't that big of a deal or a hassle, but just kind of a heads up, if you do buy this brand, TRQ, of these struts on this particular vehicle, you might have to address that issue as well. Now, I ended up getting the lower control arms and the rear shocks from the same company, TRQ, for the same vehicle, and I'll be doing those next here, and I'll make some videos, and I'll put those links in the description as well, depending on how well these go. I hope you like the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll get a link in the description where you can pick up these exact same struts along with some of the other parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.